But when we were in Utah, something came up where my husband was offered this great job opportunity, and as we prayed, this particular one, we felt like we were to move. So right before we moved, there were a lot of things going on. I felt overwhelmed. We got in an argument in the car one time because there was something I was supposed to do that was really important at the bank, and I'd totally checked out. And I immediately got mad at my husband. And this is something, you know, you may find yourself doing or see others, is when you think you're in trouble sometimes, you project it out, and suddenly now you're mad at them, you know. And I was upset at him because I knew he was going to be upset at me. Anyway, long story short, I just was really, really upset, and he's trying to gently ask me, do you need a session? He says, it's really okay, we can still do this. So in that session, we went to some very deep places, especially in my childhood. We had a lot of dysfunction in my family, and a lot of things, especially going on with my dad. He had a temper that was very, very frightening, and verbally and physically and sexually abused me to one degree or another at different times, as well as my sister. But anyway, we got through an amazing session. Didn't think too much more about it, a lot to do. When we get to Oklahoma, once we move, and and what I need to preface with is in Utah, after all those years, I was diagnosed with ADHD. I'd suspected it for years, but had not really gone to the doctor to see. A little bit fearful of that. But that happened. I was diagnosed with that. He put me on Strattera. And I was having, I don't know why this didn't happen before, but I was having a horrible time sleeping. I was doing the channel surfing, couldn't sleep, thinking of things. I'd have to have a piece of paper and pen by my bedside, so when I wake up all hours of the night, I could write down what I needed to remember, what I need to do tomorrow, and just all this anxiety going on. And I'm sure that was part of what was happening with all these things I had to remember to move. So anyway, so I had that going on. He put me on Strattera. He kept bumping it up a little stronger, a little stronger. We never got to the biggest strength, but it was calming me down. I was sleeping better. And so we make the big move. One of my daughters moved with us, and this is probably several weeks. Oh, and another thing, every 2 weeks, just about, on the Strattera, I would think, okay, I'm a Christian, I shouldn't have to need this, you know, I need to get off the medication, and I would get off of it. And I wouldn't tell my husband. And then almost exactly 2 weeks would go by, and I would be all of a sudden back in my anxiety, and he'd say, did you not take your medicine? You know, and I'd say no, and he'd say, go take your medicine. So this would happen over and over. So okay, so we're fast forwarding again to Utah. We're in Utah. I suddenly realized, Jillian, oh my goodness, I haven't taken my medicine. And it's been like 6 weeks or more. So I'm running around, I'm thinking, where did I pack it? And just trying to figure it out. And before I would ask the Lord, you know, Lord, was I supposed to not take my medicine? And he would say, did I tell you to not take your medicine? Well, so this time I'm running around, and I feel like God just stops me in my tracks, and he says, don't take your medicine. Now hear this, I'm telling you, do not take your medicine. You don't need to take it anymore. And I realized, whoa, yeah, what happened? It's been at least 6 weeks. So John and I thought, okay, what's changed? What happened? All we could figure, the only thing I could figure was going back to that one session, and we were in the car, just sitting in the driveway while the kids were inside doing a session. And I do want to share this, that the Lord took me. I was a little girl, always walking on eggshells, always having to please my daddy because his temper would flare, and then we didn't want to go there. That was scary. And so always trying to just keep everything balanced, you know. And so I found myself back there as that little girl, and then towards the end, I saw myself sitting on the Lord's lap, and just feeling totally safe, feeling myself, like I could be myself. I kept wanting, as that little girl, to get up and say, okay, can I get you a glass of water? Can I do this? Can I do this? And he said, no. Oh, you can do whatever you want if you don't want to sit here, but I just want you to be you. I want you to sit here on my lap and let me love you, and you don't have to do another thing for me ever again. I just want you to be. And oh my goodness, what that poured over me was incredible. And I even realized later, I went back trying to see his face or trying to see who was that. And I told my husband later, I said, you know what? Usually I see Jesus, or I feel like it's more Jesus, but this time I felt Abba Father. It was my daddy. I was sitting in Daddy's lap. So that just transformed me forever, and haven't had to go back on medication or anything. And then Steve, of course, comes to Texas once in a while, and another time, not too long ago, when he was ministering to me, I went through some very deep things again. I had a lot of things going on with my kids, my adult children. They're all adults now. And I'm just going to zero in on this one place specifically because we went to several things, several memories. But one of the main things was to do with things that I felt like I had to help my kids with. I had a daughter who had gotten pregnant, wasn't married. I was helping her. I kept thinking in my mind, I think I'm helping her too much. I think I'm overplaying this. And sure enough, the Lord began to show me that I felt like I deserved this because of mistakes I had made in my past. I could have gotten pregnant. So it's like here I can pay my dues now. I can help my daughter and do all these things for her because of what she went through. And yet that wasn't God's idea at all. And so I kept thinking about, but I deserve this, and I deserve to be punished. And even to do with a skin condition I have, you may have heard of it, called psoriasis. And it had flared up at the time, and I was even thinking I deserve that for different reasons. So all these different things I was thinking I deserved, and I deserved the punishment, and it was really hard to get rid of. But at one point, finally, after everybody was waiting and patient, I saw Jesus on the cross. And I'd never gotten a picture quite like that before. And I even saw this young girl at the bottom of the cross. And I saw them whipping him and beating him and different things. And I saw this young girl actually say, no, stop it, leave him alone. And I suddenly realized that there he was taking on the punishment for me. For me. I mean, we all know that in our heads, but to experience it, that's why that experientially knowing is huge. Nobody can take that away from you because it's here, it's not here. And so I was experiencing that, but I was like, no, don't beat him, leave him alone. And in my mind, I was like, okay, you know what? Get off the cross. I don't want you to take my punishment. You know, I don't want you to do that. And it's like I could see him looking at me with those eyes saying, but I've already done it. This happened thousands of years ago. It's like, oh, I can't change history. It's already happened. But very gently he said, you know, I did this for you. You can receive it or not. It's your choice. It's up to you. Back to belief in choice. So it's like, it's your choice. So I had to sit there and ponder. Can you imagine? I had to even sit there and ponder for a minute, you know, but I realized he's right. And I don't have to take on the punishment because he took on the punishment for me. So I was able to really receive what he had done on the cross for me, and that I didn't need to keep punishing myself. Several weeks had passed, and my husband and I are getting ready for something, and he turns suddenly and looks, so he's looking at my back, because almost always I have a little bit of the sores on my back. There are other places, but that's really hard for me to reach with my medicine and things to get to my back. So he's looking and going, what have you been doing? I'm like, what? And he said, there's nothing on your back. I'm like, you're kidding. And I'm trying to look, you know. And then we start looking other places, and I start realizing, oh my goodness. I mean, from what I could tell, it was like almost totally gone. And not only was it totally gone, but we were feeling of my arms and everything, and my skin was like baby soft. I mean, it was just this like new, fresh skin. It was just crazy. And he was like, wow. I mean, he knows because we've dealt with this, you know, before we ever got married. So we were just blown away. And And again, in fact, I had not been orally taking anything. I had not been putting on my medicine that I usually do. I'd done any of that stuff for weeks and weeks and weeks again. And that's the only thing we could figure out, was it was that session that, you know what, I've taken this on, I feel like I deserve it. And yeah, so now the interesting thing is that later, a little bit came back, but you know what, I've still got lye-based stuff. I have to keep going, and it's still a whole lot better than it was, but I realize that there's more things I've got to deal with, you know, that's still there, that's the way it flares up. My stress and all that, it flares up, especially through my skin. So, but I see that, and all it is a reminder of, okay, I need to look at, maybe there's some other things I need to deal with here. So, praise God.